All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us to learn more about Cascadia minerals and our exciting new porphyry drill discovery at the Catch property in Yukon. My name is Andrew Karn. I'm the VP Corporate Development for Cascadia Minerals. This morning, I'm joined by my colleagues, Graham Downs, our President and CEO, and Adam Coulter, our VP Exploration. Graham's just going to give you an overview of Cascadia, where we came from and what we're doing. And then Adam's going to give you an overview of the Catch drilling results and explain why we're so excited about what we've been finding. After that, we'll have an opportunity for a brief Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat, and we will answer them after the presentation is done. And with that, I'll hand it off to Graham, and we'll get started on the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone that came to view this presentation on our recent drill holes from the Catch property. And thank you, everyone, for the great comments and congratulations that have come in over the last day regarding this new discovery. I'm going to take you through the first couple slides before Adam takes us through the geology parts of it. So we'll move on. There may be some forward-looking statements during this presentation. Take a second to read this. It's also available on our website as well. So let's just quickly get through the company. I think we just got listed on the exchange on July 21st, 2023. So brand new company. We're very well structured with just under 37 million shares outstanding, and fully diluted of 50, and just a small market cap of 12 million right now, and we are well financed going into next year. I'm not going to dwell on the team, but we've all worked up in the Yukon for, I think, a combined over 300 years, and most of my career and Andrew and Adam's career has also been up there as well. So steeped in technical background. Again, look at our website. You can see some of the other members of our directors and technical team. So moving forward, I think one of the big things here is, and we're going to really focus on the Catch property. We haven't put in a lot on the Pill and Rosie and Sands of Time. The real focus is on the Catch. Please reach out to us anytime if you want to learn more about the other projects. But focusing on the Catch property, it is optioned from a Yukon prospector, and it is located in central Yukon, just southeast of Carmacks. We're located in Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation, and it's a brand new, exciting project. Obviously, we've made a discovery, and we'll get into that. The key thing here about the Catch is that it's in an underexplored area of the Yukon, let alone the Stikine terrain that hosts the Golden Triangle in BC. And I think this slide really represents that well. You see in BC, the green, which is the Stikine terrain that hosts many deposits. But the thing that is really interesting here is that nobody's really spent put a lot of effort into looking into the Stikine that reaches up into the Yukon. As we all know, geology knows no boundaries. So when you pull up a map of all of the claims and historical claims in the Yukon or within the Stikine, there's very little. And so we are excited about this. We did do a regional program concurrently with our Catch drilling this year. Obviously, our inaugural drill hole, the second hole, was 116 meters of 0.31 copper and 0.3 grams gold. As you probably saw in our news release, that's comparable to the open pit grades of Red Chris. So an amazing start, and I can't reiterate it enough. I mean, for us to be able to make a discovery like this in our first two holes ever drilled on a property is absolutely amazing. There's many examples of it taking over 100 to 300 holes to really get into something. So now it's really, we're very fortunate where now we can just start drilling to expand on that, and we're going to be able to see the alteration as we move out and look for that the higher grade areas of this porphyry. So I'll flip to the next slide, but the location is absolutely great. You can see that there's a highway that goes right up the middle of the Stikine in the Yukon, and it's probably a good segue to move to the next slide. You can see our project down in the bottom right of this slide. the key thing here is, we're only 16 kilometers away from a all-season highway and power line. We're in an area where there's a lot of work being done just to the northwest of Carmick's Copper, Rock Haven at Claza, Minto. So, and I think we don't know why the area to the southeast of Carmax was never really explored, but we're excited to explore that area and to continue to I mean, the key thing here, and I think is really important, is of all my years, I've never seen so much copper mineralization at surface, and for it not to have been found is just spectacular. So kudos to the prospector that found this, and we're extremely happy to be advancing this forward. I think I'd like to turn it over to Adam here as we get into a little bit more of the geology, and we zoom in right into the property. So Adam, I'll hand this off to you now. This is zooming into the Catch property, to the 2 areas of drilling that we did this year.
Thanks, Graham and Andrew, for the introduction and getting us started here. Just jumping right in, this map that we see on the right-hand side here, this is the areas that we drilled this year. We have 2 main zones. The one on the northern end of this map on the right, we call the main zone, and the one to the south is called the diorite zone. These are 2 completely separate areas over 2 kilometers apart. The first holes that we released are from this diorite zone to the south. There's still 3 drill holes pending from that main zone to the north. So today we're really just going to be talking about this area to the south here, the diorite zone, and then stay tuned for results on the main zone, probably out in the early new year with the way that the labs are moving right now. But yeah, we're incredibly excited. We have these 2 holes into the middle of this very large chargeability anomaly. I'll show you some of the data of this in a bit more detail. But hole 1, which is the more southern hole here, we intersected 45 meters of 0.3 copper with 0.15 gold right from surface, and that was within this broader interval of 334 meters of 0.13 copper. So that's an excellent start for hole 1. Really nice to collar into some decent mineralization and see it extend on the hundreds of meters scale. Hole 2 was drilled 150 meters or so, almost 200 meters just to the north of it. That hole intersected the 116 meters of 0.31 copper with 0.3 gold, and that was within a broader interval of 435 meters of 0.16 copper and just under 0.1 grams gold. So we're also incredibly excited by that. That's giving us this large scale right out the gate in our first 2 holes. We've got lots of other parts of this anomaly to test out, and we're really excited to get the drill back in here next year. Yeah, we could go to the next slide. So this is zooming right into this diorite zone. This diorite zone was found in outcrop at the very end of last season, so we've moved this forward pretty aggressively, pretty quickly. We knew it was going to be pretty exciting the day that we found it. It was our first sign of finding actual diorite or mineralized diorite intrusive rocks. The main zone on a lot of the other property is hosted in dominantly basalts and hydrothermal breccias and various intrusive breccias. But here, right at the gate, yeah, we found this mineralized diorite and knew that there was going to be scale to this target sort of immediately. So again, we're looking at in this area is a ground magnetics map. We can see this sort of distinctive magnetic low, which is interesting. Also is kind of what brought us into this area, coupled with a bit of a copper and soil anomaly, although quite discrete, to be honest. There's not a ton of exposure here. But we were lucky to find this outcrop, which led us into these discovery holes. So again, for kind of context on scale, this blue feature here that's completely coincident with the chargeability high that you saw on the last map is about 1 kilometer along this sort of A to A prime section, kilometer by kilometer or so. So this is, and again, you can see here now, this hole 1 on the south, we're looking at copper and gold histograms on the drill trace. So the red on the left is copper and gold is on the right. I think we can zoom forward to the next map. And we're going to look at, this is a cross section on that A to A prime. And now what we're looking at is the chargeability model. in cross section through the middle of that zone. And we're looking to the west. So on the left-hand side here, again, we have hole 1. You can see that higher grade mineralization right at surface here, that 0.3 copper, 0.15 gold over 45 meters. We're excited to get the drill and just punch it the other direction next year and see where that surface mineralization is going. And then you can see quite obviously here on the right, hole 2, this 0.31 copper with the 0.3 gold over 116 meters. One of the really key takeaways, I think, for everyone to get their heads around at this point is that we really are just scratching the surface of this kilometer scale chargeability and magnetic feature. Where we drilled these 2 holes, this was we're looking at one of the IP sections. And about 300 meters to the east of here, we have another IP section that we did not drill this year, and that's where the drill is actually sitting right now. I'm ready to get started for next year. And that next IP section over 300 meters away has quite a stronger chargeability response. That we intended to drill that this year, but didn't quite get to it with our meterage. We were encouraged by what we were seeing visually and ran a lot of our holes deeper than we expected. So that's where we'll start next year in this same zone, 300 meters over, looking at an even better chargeability response. So now that we know and we can see on this map here really clearly that our copper and gold mineralization is correlating quite nicely to the IP, we have pretty high confidence that as we step out and continue drilling, we might find ourselves in an area with even higher abundance of sulfides and hopefully coincident copper and gold mineralization. But looking at this map here, it's reasonably compelling to expect that we'll find some more stepping out from here. Another key thing to take away from this cross section here, again, we're kind of looking at a roughly 1 kilometer scale here. But if we look at the top of the surface on the left-hand side here, there's a 0.12 copper and 0.48 gold over 6 meters. That was dug in a hand trench from this year. That was also a similar surface expression at the top of hole 1. Was what we found there, and we got the exact same grades right underneath it, right at surface. So, we need to do some drilling over there, and then a full kilometer or more off to the right-hand side here, we've got this percent copper and 0.26 copper right at surface, with this screaming chargeability high right underneath it. So, I think we're seeing the mineralization on the bigger scale. We know we've got great upside to drill towards still, and we couldn't be more excited to continue to drill this next year. And Andrew's going to talk a bit about it at the end, but we want to do at least 5,000 meters here next year and continue to expand this new discovery. And so now we're just kind of stepping out, looking a bit more at the property wide. This is a copper and soil map. You can see it in the middle on the top hand side. That's again the main zone, and then on the southern part in the white box there is the diorite zone. So that, again, reminder that diorite zone that's where we did the drilling. You can see here there's a bit of a relatively subdued copper and soil anomaly at this area because there is a bit of blind till cover over this target. We were quite fortunate to come into this outcropping surface mineralization, which led us to the drill holes of this year. And now we know that geophysical signature works, so we can kind of use the geophysics going forward to keep stepping out and chasing this mineralization out. We're at main zone to the north. You can see there's a very substantial copper and soil anomaly, and this is where our assays are pending. We're also excited about what we saw there in the drill holes. And again, stay tuned on those holes for sort of early new year likely release at this rate with the labs. But there's a ton of surface mineralization here. We're excited that we've got it in some drill holes now. So in terms of the exploration curve, that very hardest part is done now, and at the diorite zone we can step out and keep chasing and see how big this thing gets. And really looking forward to seeing. Given the level of alteration that we've seen with this 0.3 copper gold, what kind of grades are we going to find in that potassic core? Again, it will be better. It's just a matter of, we don't really know what that will be yet. And this is just zooming into that main zone to the north, again, where we have the 3 holes pending. And really the key takeaway here is that this is an excellent drill target that is outside of the released holes. So in the bottom right here, we can see the average surface grade of 258 rocks selected in this zone is 0.32 copper and 0.7 grams gold. So excellent surface grades. We put 3 holes into this zone. Really interesting geology, slightly higher elevation, dominantly hosted in basalt, lots of higher grade breccias, intrusive breccias and hydrothermal breccias over this entire area. So we expect to tap into this in our first couple of holes, and we hope to see similar grades downhole that we found at surface in these zones. And for scale, this is about 500 meters across various sort of outcropping and subcropping zones of mineralization. And I'll hand it back over to Andrew.
All right, thanks, Adam. Yeah, so as Adam mentioned, we're extremely excited about what we've seen so far, and we have a lot of catalysts coming up in the next little while to keep building on this story and keep excitement on it. As Adam mentioned, we are expecting results from those 3 diamond drill holes at the main zone late this year, probably into the new year. And that, again, is a separate target located over 2 kilometers away from the diorite zone, but with a very compelling signature, both geophysically and geochemically. These holes did contain varying amounts of visual sulfides. It's extremely difficult to estimate grade visually, as we've learned in this mineralization. So we're not going to make any real statements there about what those visuals look like until we have the assays back. But there is some degree of sulfide mineralization present within that, and that's a combination of pyrite, pyrrhotite, and chalcopyrite. So really, just stay tuned for those assays. We will get them out as soon as we can. As Adam mentioned earlier, we have also been conducting regional exploration throughout the Stikine. We really see a huge opportunity here to be kind of the first movers within this extension of the Golden Triangle into Yukon. We've demonstrated that we can kind of rapidly move a project forward here at Catch, moving from that initial grassroots discovery by the prospector to drilling in just a couple of years. We want to kind of build on that success, utilize the knowledge that we've learned here at this project, and explore elsewhere in the Stikine. There's a lot of really opportunity there and a lot of open ground, and we think there's potential to make more discoveries. So we did kind of the first phase of that work this summer. Stay tuned to learn more about that. We will have that information out once we've got it all compiled and put together. But we see a real significant opportunity here to assemble kind of a district scale land package in what we see as an exciting new porphyry district. In terms of exploration next year at Catch, we're excited enough by the results of the diorite zone alone that we are already planning for a 2-drill, 5,000 meter follow-up program at Catch. We'll have to see what we get back from the main zone, but assuming that we get some interesting intervals there, the plan will be to step out on both the diorite and main zone holes, as well as to test deeper. And one of the interesting things with the 2 holes at the diorite zone that we put out so far, as Adam mentioned, originally we planned to drill more, but we had to keep running the holes long because we kept seeing sulfides. And in fact, there are visual sulfides even to the end of these drill holes, and there is anomalous copper grades, not reportable, but anomalous at the very bottom of both of the release drill holes. So opportunity there to test deeper as well. We'll make sure that the rig we have next year is capable of going deeper with the appropriate infrastructure there. Another big point, the alteration profile that we've seen to date is not potassic. It's not significant potassic alteration, which is what you'd expect in the core of the system and in the highest grade areas. So we're going to look at what we got from the drill results this year, do a lot of alteration mapping, and allow us to vector hopefully towards that potassic core of the deposit. So there's the potential that we will see even higher grades as well, and we're hoping to see much broader intervals of kind of that same grade of mineralization that we've got in the highlight. So really a ton of opportunity there. We're just tapping into this system. We're probably on the shoulders of the major part of the zone there, and we look forward to vectoring into that exciting part. As Adam mentioned, we've got a drill overwintered on site. It's on an undrilled step-out pad. It's ready to go early season. We're going to have to keep an eye on the weather and see how early we can get in there, but the hope would be sometime in late April or early May to get out there and commence that follow-up drilling.
Great.
So thanks, everyone. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Graham.
No, I think that's really, really good. Yeah, it's excellent. One thing I just wanted to mention, because I forgot to do that at the beginning, is we have some very good and significant shareholders, and I just didn't mention it. So we've got Hecla just under 20%, Barrick just under 8%, Michael Gentile as well, around 7% in management. So almost half of the shares that are out there are held with very strong shareholders. So it's just something to keep in mind. I think this, with this market cap of about 12 million right now, and most of the shares being held by strong shareholders, there's a lot of torque in the stock. So we're pretty pumped about getting back out there. We're pumped about the next 3 holes. Hopefully they have some great results as well, but we know we're going back in there next year, and it's just a really, really great story. So just wanted to get that in before we got to the questions. Thanks, Andrew.
Our team's also going to be at the Yukon Geoscience Conference next week in Whitehorse. We'll have core available there to review. So if anyone's up there, feel free to stop by, chat with us, take a look at the rocks. And we'll also be at the Roundup Conference in Vancouver in late January, and we'll have core available there as well. So lots of opportunities to meet with our team, chat more about the project, and get a hands on the rocks yourself. So thank you again for joining us. We do have time for questions here. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll dive into them. So the first question there, do you have any ideas as to the degree of erosion here? Are there windows of higher temperature or more proximal alteration assemblages exposed at the surface? I will throw that to you, Adam.
That's a great question. As for the levels of erosion, based on the alteration that we've seen in the porphyry so far, we are, I guess, first off, we're looking at an alkalic porphyry system. We've dominantly seen what we believe is interpropolytic to sodic alteration. So looking at sort of analog deposits elsewhere in the world, like Cascadia or Copper Mountain in BC, we believe we're kind of sitting right above the potassic zone. So if you were to compare that to a alkaline model, that would be a different story. But in the alkaline world, we believe we're right where we want to be, sitting right above the potassic center, and not eroded too deeply at this point in time. So, when you're looking for a porphyry system, the worst realization is that you understand that you're too deep in the system, and we believe we're kind of right above that. So the best grade that we saw in hole 2 there, the over 100 meters of 0.3 copper gold, was dominantly hosted in what looks like sodic alteration, strong albite alteration, varying levels of silica, chlorite, little bits of sericite here and there, and no potassic alteration really to note. So if you come have a peek at our core at Geoscience or Roundup, we can show you that in person. And there's one nice photo of it in our core presentation that you can see as well.
And we will have more core photos up on the website shortly, just working our way through that. So stay tuned in the next week or so. We'll have some further updated maps and figures and core photos posted to the website. All right. Have you seen any hydrothermal or intrusion breccias in any of the 3 drill holes at the main zone?
That's a good question. I guess I can't say too much there, but we did see some breccia in the holes at main zone. There's a great photo of one of the surface rocks in that presentation from the main zone, and also on a core presentation, it's a slab section. You can see this beautiful intrusive breccia. It's got a sort of a white looking diorite matrix in it, and lots of sulfide overprinting it. That was sort of what we were hoping to see in the core. I guess I'll just say we saw some sniffs of that in the core in those zones.
The next question is, could you speak to the distribution of mineralization? Is it sheeted, stockwork, disseminated? And is the mineralization related to the quartz feldspar dikes?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. Sulfide abundance that we've seen so far is typically pyrite, pyrite, chalcopyrite. So again, coupling that with the levels of alteration we saw, again, we know we're not in that potassic core, because obviously we would expect to see that the chalcopyrite will become the most dominant mineral. So we're still seeing the pyrite as the most dominant mineral next to pyrite. The pyrite is obviously a bit of an odd mineral in these systems, so we're working through that and trying to get an understanding of that. And then in terms of what they look like visually, you can see that one core photo we showed. There is quite a substantial stockwork of dominantly quartz carbonate veins with the same assemblage in the veins, and then also disseminated up to even semi-massive sulfide mineralization as well. There's the one higher grade interval that I didn't talk too much about in the presentation, up to almost, I believe it's 9 grams gold. But that interval actually has semi-massive pyrite with it. So there's definitely an association with these sulfides and grade, definitely gold, obviously as well. And so it's a bit of a combination of both veining and disseminations.
All right. Are there any additional questions?
Adam, maybe you can speak to the pyrrhotite a little bit more, because it is seen in other deposits, is my understanding as well. So
yeah, I was actually just at a talk on Copper Mountain in BC, alkalic porphyry system that's owned by Hudbay now, a couple weeks ago, and there's quite a reasonable association with pyrrhotite in the porphyry system there. So also looking at an alkalic system. Something we also haven't talked about publicly too much is we do have a bit of an association with platinum palladium, which you do see in some of these alkalic systems as well. Nothing too substantial to report, but we do had some higher grade sniffs of platinum palladium in some of the surface results. So stay tuned there as we possibly vector into the system. We might see that as well. Don't know too much about it yet, but it's on our radar as well. Yeah.
All right, well, that looks like all the questions. Graham or Adam, any closing remarks here before we close this out? And just so everyone knows, there will be a recording of this post within the next week or so. So if you did join us late, feel free to check that out and you can catch the whole presentation.
No, I mean, I thank you so much. I think that was a great presentation, and I would just, invite anyone to give us a shout. We're always around. If you want to have a presentation or a conversation with any of us, please reach out. We're always available. And yeah, thank you so much for coming out and viewing and learning a little bit more about this discovery. I think the next year or so is going to be pretty exciting. So stay tuned.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.